Krisha from Learn and Have Fun with Krisha, and back with another topic, that is the United Nations. So let us begin. Beginning with the introduction. The two world wars in 1914 to 1918 and the 1939 to 1945 left the world under threat of destruction, helplessness, violence, misery, disease, and pain. The League of Nations was set up after the First World War, but that failed to avert the next World War. It was only after the Second World War that a serious effort got footing in the formation of the United Nations Organization. Now, the United Nations Organization is an international organization founded on 24th October 1945, after the Second World War, by 51 countries. It committed to maintaining international peace and security, developing friendly relations among nations, and promoting social progress, better living standards, and human rights. At present, the United Nations has 193 member countries. Its main headquarters is located in New York, USA. Now let us see the aims of the United Nations. To keep peace throughout the world, to develop friendly relations between nations on the basis of equality and principle of self-determination. To work together to help people live better lives, to eliminate poverty, disease, illiteracy in the world, to stop environmental destruction, and to encourage respect for each other's rights and freedoms. To be a center for helping nations achieve these aims, and to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. Now, scourge here means a blow causing great suffering to war. Now let us see the principles of the United Nations. All member states have sovereign equality. All member states must obey the Charter. Countries must try to settle their differences by peaceful means. The UN may not interfere in the domestic affairs of any country, and countries must avoid using force or threatening to use force. Countries should try to assist the United Nations. Moving on to the membership to the UN. Today, almost every independent state is a member of the UN. Membership to the UN is open to all other peace-loving states. To attain membership of the UN, the following 5 conditions must be fulfilled. It must be an independent state. It must be peace-loving. It must accept the obligations of the UN Charter. It must be able to carry out the obligations of the UN Charter, and it must have strong willingness to do so. After fulfilling such conditions, new member states may be admitted to the UN on the recommendation of the Security Council and by the majority of the General Assembly by 2/3. Now let us see the different organs of the UNO, that is the United Nations Organization. The organization can take action on a wide range of issues, provide a forum for its 193 member states to express their views through its 6 main organs, namely the General Assembly, the Security Council, the ECOSOC, that is the Economic and Social Council, the Trusteeship Council, the International Court of Justice, and the Secretariat. Let us see the General Assembly first. The General Assembly is the largest organ of the UN. All members of the UN are members of the General Assembly. Each member state can send up to 5 representatives, but is entitled to only 1 vote in the Assembly. This ensures that all member states have equal status. The General Assembly meets once a year for 3 months. So that is mostly from September to December. But special sessions may be held during the time of crisis. At the beginning of every session, the Assembly elects a new president. Let us see the functions of the General Assembly. It can discuss any matter affecting international peace and security. It makes recommendations for peaceful settlements of disputes. It passes the budget of the UN. Now, the UN has a budget which has the money to help the countries when they're in need. It elects the non-permanent members to the Security Council. It also elects the members of the Economic and Social Council. And General Assembly, along with the Security Council, elects the members of the International Court of Justice. Decisions are taken in the General Assembly by a simple majority vote. In some important cases, a 2/3 majority vote is required for taking a decision. Moving on to the Security Council. The Security Council is the most important and effective organ of the UN. It is the executive wing of the UN. The Security Council consists of 15 members. The 5 of them are permanent members, namely United Kingdom, China, France, Russia, and the USA. These members have a special power called the veto power. This means a negative vote by any one of the permanent members would lead to the cancellation of the resolution. The other 10 non-permanent members are elected by the General Assembly for a term of 2 years from the member countries. Moving on, each member has one vote. Decisions are taken by a majority vote of at least 9 members, including the 5 permanent members. The Security Council has the basic responsibility of maintaining peace and security in the world. The Security Council meets once a month, but in the event of an emergency, a meeting may be held whenever required. Now let us see the functions. The prime functions of the Council are given below. To maintain international peace and security, regulation of armament. Armament means military weapons here. To investigate any dispute, threat, or aggression and take military action or impose economic sanctions against the aggressor country. Now, the aggressor country means, in simple words, it may be the country that is starting the fight or maybe the country that is doing the fight. Is the reason for the fight, you may say. To make recommendations to the General Assembly on the appointment of a new Secretary General and admission of new members to the UN. And the last one, to elect the judges of International Court of Justice after joint discussion with the General Assembly. Moving on to the Economic and Social Council. 70% of the work of the UN is devoted to promoting higher standards of living, full employment, and conditions of the economic and social progress and development. The Economic and Social Council, that is the ECOSOC, comprising 54 member states, is the central body responsible for coordinating the economic and social work of the United Nations. Moving on to the functions. To promote economic and social progress, to solve problems related to health, illiteracy, employment, unemployment, etc. To coordinate the functions of the agencies of the UN. Moving on to the Trusteeship Council. The Trusteeship Council was set up to supervise the administration of 11 dependent territories, also known as the Trust Territories, which were badly destroyed by the World Wars. It was created at the end of the Second World War with the aim to promote the advancement of the inhabitants of those dependent territories and to work for their progressive development towards independence. Since the creation of the Trusteeship Council, more than 70 colonial territories, including all of the original 11 trust territories, have attained independence with the help of the UN. In 1994, the Council decided to suspend its operation formally and to meet as and when occasion might require. This Council is still in suspension. Moving on to the International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice is the main judicial organ of the UN, with 15 presiding or World Court judges, each from a different nation, elected by the General Assembly and Security Council jointly for a term of 9 years. The seat of the International Court of Justice is at Hague in Netherlands. Moving on to the aims. Settling legal disputes between nations only and not between individuals. Providing legal advice to other organs of the UN in case they require. If a country does not wish to take part in a proceeding, it does not have to do so unless required by special treaty provisions. Once a country accepts the court's jurisdiction, it must comply with its decision whether it is in its favor or not. Moving on to the Secretariat. The Secretariat is made up of an international staff working at the UN headquarters in New York, as well as UN offices in Geneva, Vienna, Nairobi, and other locations. It is responsible for carrying out the day-to-day work of the organization, then giving service to the other principal organs, implementing decisions taken by various organs of the UN, carrying tasks of administering peace, keeping operations, surveying economic and social trends, preparing studies on human rights. The Secretariat is headed by the Secretary General, who is appointed by the General Assembly. I've already told you about this, on the recommendation of the Secretary Council for a 5-year term. He is the highest official and has a lot of power in the UN. At present, Antonio Guterres of Portugal is the Secretary General of the UN. Now moving on to the agencies of the United Nations. To meet specific needs, General Assembly has set up a number of specialized agencies. The first agency that we are going to see is the FAO, the Food and Agricultural Organization. It works to improve agricultural productivity and food security and to better the living standards of rural population. The locust control and animal vaccination campaigns had been a vast success. Moving on to the second one, that is the WHO, World Health Organization. This agency coordinates programs aimed at solving health problems and the attainment of by all people of the highest possible levels of health. It works in such areas as immunization, health education, and the provision of essential medicines. It has run successful campaigns in getting the world rid of dangerous diseases. The next one, that is UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. It promotes education for all, cultural development, protection of the world's natural and cultural heritage, international cooperation in science, freedom of press and communication. Since the first successful campaign in 1959 to save Abu Simbel, that is a temple in Upper Egypt, from flooding, UNESCO has superheaded over 24 massive campaigns to safeguard sites and monuments which belong to the world's shared heritage. Moving on to the next one, that is UNICEF, United Nations International Children Emergency Fund, which is now known as the United Nations Children's Fund. This agency advocates for the protection of children's rights to help meet their basic needs and to expand their opportunities to reach their full potential. Purchase of the UNICEF cards and gifts helps the organization raise funds and work with much ease. Through its campaigns, press releases, and television shoots, UNICEF gets closer to the masses and receives help worldwide. The next one, that is ILO, International Labour Organization. This agency formulates policies and programs to improve working conditions and employment opportunities and sets labor standards used by countries around the world. It campaigns across the world to introduce a new tool to labor inspectorates, combining of advocacy and enforcement as one of the most powerful ways to promote good working conditions. The next one is the International Monetary Fund, that is the IMF. This agency facilitates international monetary cooperation and financial stability and provides a permanent forum for consultation, advice, and assistance on financial issues. Through its Helping Hands campaign, IMF has supported nations to overcome crises. Now let us see some other agencies that are coordinated by ECOSOC. We have IFAD, that is the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IMO, International Maritime Organization, ITU, International Telecommunication Union, UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization, WTO, World Tourism Organization. Moving on to the last part of the video, that is the achievements of the UN. Many countries the UN has helped many countries to become democratic and peaceful states. The UN plays an important role in protecting our environment. The Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in 1992 was a big conference about climate control and other problems of the environment. The International Atomic Energy Agency is a UN organization that controls the nuclear weapons of countries so that they don't build an atomic bomb. Since 1950, the UN has given help to over 50 million refugees. Those people had to leave their countries because of war, hunger, or diseases. Africa is the poorest continent. The UN has given African countries money and other kinds of help so that they can feed people and give them work to do. It helps developing countries to provide safe and clean water. It fights drug abuse and improves the lives of children who live in poverty. It helps people learn how to read and write. It helps farmers in poor countries where it is too hot or too dry. With this, I would like to conclude. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. You may find the assessment link in the description box as well as in the comments, so don't forget to attempt. Thank you.